Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for a quick overview of Kadiska's Microsoft Teams Performance Dashboard. This is a tool you can use to determine if you're being affected anywhere in your organization in terms of your users, employees, customers, partners trying to use Microsoft Teams for calls. And let's say the video is not working or there's an outage or people just can't log in. Here's a good way to do that. So it's a free service you can use. It's using Kadiska's network tracing technology to look at all the different media servers around the Microsoft ecosystem all around the world. And you can access this quickly from our Kadiska.com page here at Microsoft Teams dashboard. We also have one for Salesforce. So if you're using that as well, you can take a look at that dashboard. Let's take a look at what you can see here. So what we're trying to do is highlight Teams issues around the world and also in different regions. And it's well known that about 80% of the problems with Microsoft Teams calls are related to network performance. And this can impact users who are trying to reach each other. There's a particularity about Microsoft Teams in that the media servers that you connect to when you want to create a call are really defined by the first person who joins the call. So in the case of someone joining Microsoft Teams, if the first person joins in Australia, then everyone on that call will connect to a Microsoft Teams media server in Australia, and that'll create a huge latency problem. And what you're seeing here is a view of latency around the world to their closest Microsoft Teams media server that will be potentially hosting a call. And you can see here in India, you're beyond the recommended 100 millisecond round trip, no matter where you're trying to connect to. So the closest one to India right now, 95 milliseconds in the red zone for users there. So they're almost guaranteed to have a bad call quality, screen freezing, call drops, things like that. You can also look at the dashboard and see which countries are being affected by packet loss, which is also a problem with call quality in terms of the media. Sometimes audio will be difficult or garbled, difficult to understand. Any packet loss above 1% is going to give you a problem. So you can see there's many, many countries around the world here that have a combination of latency and packet loss that's potentially quite dangerous. So you can look at the UAE here, one of the worst performing right now in terms of accessing Teams media platforms. You can also see this as a graph over time and by country, so you can sort of see what's happening here at different countries where you rank and whether loss and latency are occurring at the same time. Right, so you might ask the question, which countries have the fastest Microsoft Teams connectivity, the best experience? So here we're seeing those ranked. So South Africa, very close to their own media server there. Ireland is also a location where there's a Microsoft media server. UK connecting to Ireland, I think, and then you have Brazil and the Netherlands, very good performance. And then the ones with the slowest Teams connectivity and packet loss. Also in this dashboard, you see the variation of latency by region. So you can see in the Middle East, you could have a very fast connection time, or you could have extremely long lag to a Teams server, depending on which country you're in that region. As opposed to North America, where pretty much everyone, whether you're in Mexico, Canada, United States, any of the US states, you're getting a really good performance to a media server. And that makes sense because Microsoft has media servers in several different Azure data center locations. Europe performing very well, and Latin America. So you can kind of see where you're at if you're in one of those regions. And if you want to, dive a little deeper, you could click in here and look at Europe, see which countries have the slowest performance. They're all within the 100 millisecond target right now. This has been updated about 30 minutes ago, and we update that every hour. So you can kind of look and see what the latest status is for users in your country or users in countries that you have offices in, for example. You can also see how they rank across the different countries, not just the current latency, but also the span of like the minimum and the maximum. So you can see, for example, here in Great Britain, there is quite a difference between the fastest and the slowest access. And that can be because of your ISP or your office location connected through, let's say, a CASB or an SD-WAN, or basically any form of security gateway or VPN could cause a great variation in that. This dashboard is also very interesting. It's about the call quality of people calling into Europe. So let's say the first person who joins the Teams call is from Europe, And so the whole call is then being hosted on a Microsoft Teams media server in Europe. And you can see what it looks like for people calling from around the world. So you can see that people from Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, China, Japan, all having a really bad experience trying to reach that particular call, as opposed to people who are local, of course, to the media server having a reasonable experience. And here, Canada, US, just above the threshold where things start to get a little bit complicated, quality can start to degrade. So you can see here, if you're a European company or you're hosting a lot of calls, what the impact might look like. And you can also see which countries have the longest path into a European media server. So if you were going to have a call with someone in, I don't know, New Zealand, Australia, like we saw, you're going to see a high latency there round trip and also a long path length. So a lot of hops to get from those locations to a European media server. Finally, we could take a quick look here at North America, and we have similar statistics, except North America is a little bit of a different environment because it's all very close to each other. So you'll see that in Canada, US, and Mexico, the performance is very similar. You can see how the US and Canada and Mexico rank against other countries in terms of their latency. So what's interesting is they're not really at the shortest, even though a lot of media servers in North America. You will get a better experience if you're in the UK or Brazil, France, so quite a few other countries connecting quicker into Microsoft Teams media servers. And similarly, we can look at which countries have poor performance trying to reach a call that's hosted in North America. So that's why North America here is not highlighted, is because we're talking about countries like South Africa trying to reach a call that's hosted in the Americas. And it's a significant problem for countries like India that have a lot of involvement with the US, a lot of different branches or enterprise sites over there, professional services, and so on. And they're basically guaranteed to have a bad call quality in almost every case, unless someone has started a call somewhere in Europe that's somewhere in between. So you can see how this might be helpful. You can try to correlate whether path length, the routes that you're taking, the routes that your company are using to get to Microsoft media servers are optimal or not. You can also use that information to go a little deeper with the Kadiska platform. You can watch a video here on how that works and how you can diagnose, for example, your peering connections, how fast you can get to the Microsoft cloud, how fast users are able to connect into a backbone, or if they're having some problems related to something like a Zscaler or a CASB, so a VPN, or just their ISP just really sucks. And this will help you find a way to resolve that issue very quickly and resolve those 80% of Teams issues that are related to network performance. So feel free to use our dashboard. You can provide feedback to us anytime here in the chat, in LinkedIn, and suggest anything you'd like to see added to that. But I recommend you go and take a look at the video and you go quite a bit deeper into the end-to-end network tracing that we offer. It's really a world-class capability to diagnose these problems extremely quickly. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have fun with the dashboard.